can't believe all the parallels between sex panic and techno panic. It's kind of amazing. I mean, I could just let you do my job, Marty. But we don't tell our peers, parents, and educators to ask George. We tell them, talk to your kid. Don't extrapolate from the news headlines about awful things like cyberbullicide, which is a horrible term, and not entirely not research-based. You know, we don't extrapolate from the headlines. We don't extrapolate our experience of flying from the headlines, which are all about airline crashes, not safe landings, right? So there, you know, like 99.9% of the population is having safe landings in technology, and that includes young people. So here's a new clicker. This is a really, really information-packed slide, but you know, what I'm trying to say here basically is that, you know, what we're experiencing right now is huge. We haven't experienced a media shift of this magnitude since the Gutenberg press, which led to the Renaissance and the Reformation, and other amazing tectonic shifts in culture and society, at least in the Western world, not even getting into technological shifts that happened in China. And you know, we don't know yet what our Renaissance and Reformation in the 21st century is going to be. I hope it's going to be education reform. But you know, Clay Shirky, who is an amazing techno pundit and associate professor at New York University, gave a talk at the State Department about the incredible media revolution we're experiencing. And he said that, you know, this moment we're living through is the largest increase in expressive capability in human history. It's phenomenal. And he said it's a sort of a two-way, or you know, a double revolution. He talks about real-time, many-to-many media moving in all directions and user-produced. That's huge. And then we have all media going through the same pipeline, all on the same platform, whether user-produced or professionally produced. And it's communications and entertainment and sociality and education and research and everything, all of our human output in one pipeline, on one platform. That's so exciting. This is not about fear, this is about celebration. When we think about what this connectivity does and how it's advancing civilization. But I think it's a triple revolution, actually, and that's because media now is behavioral, it's social, so its content is behavioral when you think about it, no matter what medium it's in, whether it's text or video or still photos or whatever. So, a couple of years ago, oops, I'm going backwards. I don't want to do that. I co-chaired a task force in Washington. It was formed by the Protecting Children in the 21st Century Act, federal law, and we sent our report to Congress in 2010, and what we wanted to do was send lawmakers and all of those legislative aides who actually write the laws and as much of American society as we possibly could, though nobody read this 150-page report. So we had to put it all in the title. And what we called it was Youth Safety on a Living Internet. And so here's what we were trying to say to people of my generation. You guys all know this, but it may be interesting for you to know what kind of messaging some of us felt Americans of our generation needed to hear. And I've also given this talk in Lisbon and Luxembourg and Nairobi and other world capitals. The internet is very much a living thing. It's both a mirror of a growing proportion of humanity's expression and behavior, and sociality and research and entertainment and all that stuff. And it's a platform of expression. In Facebook alone now, with more than 800 million users, almost 1 billion users, moving very quickly toward that in every country in the world now. I can't even tell you how many languages. 30 billion pieces of content are posted by its members every month. 30 billion. And And then, you know, we talk about all these other platforms like YouTube, phenomenal statistics on how much goes through that platform, how much video, how much of people's lives goes through 24/7 in every time zone on the planet. So we also, you know, have a very social experience with content, giving it a whole new meaning. And it's very important that adults understand how embedded all of this is in real life. It's not a separate add-on to life, as so many people of my generation feel. And so what that means is that Facebook is not the context when something goes wrong in a relationship. You know, a fake profile or something mean said or a photo that's embarrassing to somebody. You know, adults want to sort of glom onto Facebook's customer service department and say, fix that, or take that down, as if taking down a photo would resolve something that's about what's going on between two people. So what we try to explain is that, you know, that the context is, generally speaking, for a whole lot of young people, school life, peer relations, what's going on at school. You know, and I just love these two birds. It's also, you know, we have this sort of undifferentiated mass in our minds of, you know, both sort of young people and also about media. You know, we sort of boil it all down to the internet. And what we do is we say that, you know, we think that it's very binary, that, you know, you're either online or you're offline, or you have either a victim or a bully, or something is either private or public. And binary doesn't work anymore. It's highly individual. And there are probably as many ways to use social media as there are people or birds, just as, you know, the way people live their lives. And then, you know, of course, it's constantly changing, very, very fluid. It's not about control anymore. It's too fluid. It's too multifaceted and multi-personal. You know, it's about agency. It's about self-actualization, online and offline. And, you know, it's constantly changing. It's, everyone seems to know, you know, this kind of thing, except that the people who want to control young people don't want to grasp this concept, or the people who are afraid of young people. There's a fantastic professor who's, you know, was the origin of basically all youth online risk data at the Center for the Crimes Against Children Research Center at UNH. He coined the term juvenoia, and the other term that he's used is youngsternation. But he has some, you know, some theories now about why parents are so afraid, and I can go into that later. But, you know, Marty was talking about why are people so afraid of human sexuality? Well, why are we so afraid of technology, or the interface between, or intersection between technology and youth? Just take sexuality out of there and you've got techno-panic, which is kind of sad. It's like maybe we're addicted to fear in this country. So, but, you know, having said all that, it's really, to most of the people engaged in using social media, no big deal.
Joe, what are you doing there?
I don't know.
What's going on?
Well, this is this is like a foreign tool.
Okay. What was it? You said you were having a problem earlier?
Oh, yeah. Wait, where's it? Yeah. So, I want to read more about Frederick Douglass, or maybe like see a larger image. So I double-clicked on the picture, but nothing's happening. And then I can't really read the text because it's kind of small. So looking for the system preferences so I can make the text bigger, but can't find it.
Laura, you said there was a problem involved?
You can't double-click the image because it's not blue highlighted.
Oh.
You don't know. They're not blue highlighted, so you can't.
Well, wait, cotton is king. That's kind of blue.
Yeah,
What are you doing there? What, it's what?
It might be a link, Joe. Click on it.
What's wrong, Joe?
I don't know. There's so many like.
Joe, drag that picture. You can save it. That could be useful.
I don't even have a folder. Like if I drag it, it would just be like right here.
Like,
How are you doing that? You're like changing screens.
Are you just clicking through? What's going on?
It's like microtechnology. No, I'm just turning like page.
Okay.
But it's like microtechnology, so like everything is inside the page.
Inside the page? That's insane.
Sorry.
Well, I'll help you. We'll check back later to see if you fixed your problem.
So, you know, have you guys seen this New Yorker cartoon? It's become very, very famous. But this is what we're moving away from, right? On the internet, everybody was anonymous during the 90s. I still have to explain this to my peers. You know, that, everybody knows you're a dog now. And that was back in, the middle of the last decade, right? Everybody knows you're a dog. It's not anonymous anymore. It's not an isolating or marginalizing thing. It's a highly social thing. And so, just a little, the data, we all know the data. 95% of Americans 12 to 17 are online. 80% of them use social sites. And then, texting, 87% of teen cell phone users are engaged in texting, and the numbers of the amount of time they spend texting, the number of text messages they exchange every day keeps going up. And everybody's really afraid because, oh my God, they're not doing any work, or this is a huge distraction. But what people don't realize is that it takes 10 to 12 texts to make up just a normal conversation. So maybe you have a few conversations during the day, and that adds up to 60 texts, and it's not such a fearsome figure after all. But it does create new excuses for not doing your homework. And what's even bigger is video games, right? 97% of kids, and almost as many, 99% of boys and 94% of girls are engaged in video game play. And, adults really want to be afraid about that. But, what we learned, what all this means, says author, game designer, and scholar Jane McGonigal with a PhD, says, that teens and all the 183 million active video gamers in the US are intuitively, intelligently seeking happiness. I think that's really an important thing to remember. And author Eric Weiner said, our happiness is completely and utterly intertwined with other people. Happiness is not a noun, it's a verb, it's a conjunction, connective tissue. And the greatest form of happiness, and it's found more predictably in online games, multiplayer games, and all kinds of games, social games, is intense, optimistic engagement with the world and people around us, when we are completely activated as human beings. So, the question is not, how do we get rid of video games? The question is, how do we bring that intense, wonderful self-actualization into life? How do we help our children do that with their sexuality, with their exchanges with other people, in our communications with our children? It's really all about our humanity and our connectivity. And there's this wonderful law that Dana Boyd, the social media researcher, quoted in the talk that she just gave at South by Southwest in Austin. It sort of perked up my ears because he said technology is neither good or bad, nor is it neutral. And I'd always sort of thought it was neutral. It's what you make of it. And it's what you make of it in your household or in your school or whatever. But it's also not neutral. And he gives the example of DDT. In our country, DDT was found to be harmful, that it would sort of get into the plants that we would eat. And so we banned it in our country. But India never did ban DDT. And what was found, the World Health Organization reported that it cut the number of cases of malaria from 100 million a year to 15,000. 100 million cases to 15,000. And the death toll from malaria from 750,000 a year to 1,500. So it's all about the context of the technology, the human context. And that's where we need to start thinking a lot more. I love what Marty said about how we need to talk with our kid to understand the context of how he or she is using technology. And we need to talk with teenagers about, how, why we don't break up with somebody just in a text message. What are the feelings? We need to kind of think about the human impact of what we're doing with technology. Not just the etiquette of it, but the deeply felt human feelings and how we treat each other. That is literacy. And I think, one of the things that, we were talking about sexual literacy earlier. Well, there are really 3 literacies now that help us be super successful. Whether we're playing on Xbox Live, or we're texting, or we're in a classroom, or we're just having a conversation with somebody. But mostly in media, we need 3 literacies. One is media literacy, but it's two-way now. It's not just critical thinking about what we consume and read and download. It's also critical thinking about what we post, produce, share, and upload. And then we need digital literacy, technical literacy, which a lot of our children have. But the final one now is, obviously, social literacy. Social emotional learning, social intelligence. That's what needs to be developed in order to be successful in or out of technology or media or online or offline. So, but we've only just begun, right? Sherry Turkle at MIT said this, that, we're in the toddler days of all of this digital media, so we have a lot of thinking to do together, and I hope we really do it together with a sense of joy about the connectivity that it allows and affords. Thanks so much.